Dragonfire and Steel. An epic battle begins, Part 7. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from as the world marches toward its greatest war. The plains of Eralis burned under a red dawn. Ash drifted through the air like falling snow, settling on broken banners, shattered shields, and the scorched earth where dragons and men had clashed only hours before. The retreating armies of the Iron Dominion were little more than dark lines on the horizon now, fleeing toward the distant mountains like shadows trying to escape the light. Kale stood at the edge of the floating forge platform, looking down at the world below. The glow in his eyes had faded to a faint, steady ember, but he could still feel the heart of Dracoria inside him, quiet, watchful, like a second pulse beneath his own. Rin joined him, wiping soot from his armor. You've been staring at the horizon for a long time. Kale exhaled slowly. I can still feel it. The storm. It's gone, but it's not far. Draxus landed behind them, the ground trembling under his massive weight. The great blue dragon's scales were cracked and blackened from the battle, but lightning still flickered faintly along his wings. The sky is restless, Draxus rumbled. The winds whisper of war not from the stars, but from the world itself. Arion descended moments later, folding his silver wings with a sharp snap. Scouts report Iron Dominion forces regrouping at the Black March. They're not retreating. They're preparing. Rin frowned. For another push? For a crusade, Arion replied. Every fortress between here and the southern seas is lighting their signal fires. Kale clenched his fist. Then they're not just coming for the heart anymore. No, Arion said. They're coming for you. Below them the Allied camp came to life. Human soldiers moved in tight formations, repairing armor and reforging weapons at portable forges. Dragons of every size and color circled overhead, their roars echoing across the plains as they gathered in growing numbers. For the first time in history they were not separated by fear or legend. They were one army. Rin looked out at the gathering forces. We can't keep reacting. We need to take the fight to them. Kale nodded slowly. Where does the Iron Dominion rule from? Arion's jaw tightened. The Citadel of Ash. A fortress carved into a volcano at the edge of the Black March. It's been their seat of power for generations. Draxus growled. A lair worthy of cowards who hide behind fire and stone. Kale turned to him. Can you get us there? Draxus lowered his massive head, lightning crackling brighter. I can carry you to the gates of their hell. A horn sounded from below. A deep, steady call that rolled across the plains like a heartbeat. Rin looked down. That's the council call. Moments later they stood in the center of the Allied camp, surrounded by commanders, dragon elders and human generals. The air buzzed with tension and barely contained excitement. A towering dragon with obsidian scales and glowing amber eyes stepped forward. His voice was like grinding stone. I am Vorthar, elder of the Flame Brood. We have watched your kind for centuries, Sky Herald. His gaze fixed on Kale. You have bound the heart. You have called us into a war that will shape the skies for an age. Kale met his stare. I didn't choose this war. But I won't run from it. A human general with a scarred face and a battered helm slammed his fist against his chest. The Iron Dominion burned my city. They took my sons. If you're marching on their citadel, my army marches with you. One by one voices joined in. Dragon. Human. Warrior. Elder. The sound swelled into a single, thunderous roar of agreement. Arion raised a wing and silence fell. Then hear this, he said. The Citadel of Ash is not just a fortress. It is a weapon. The Iron Dominion has been building something within its walls. Something powered by the same energy the Chainbinder tried to steal. Kale felt the heart stir inside him. What kind of weapon? Rin asked. Arion hesitated. One designed to wound the sky itself. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Draxus bared his fangs. Then we strike before they finish it. Vorthar nodded slowly. The Flame Brood will fly with you, Sky Herald. But know this, if you fall, the bond you carry may tear the skies apart. Kale swallowed. No pressure. Rin smirked faintly. You always did like high-stakes plans. The council broke, the camp exploding into motion. Soldiers formed ranks. Dragons lined up along the plains, their wings stretching wide, blotting out the rising sun. Kale climbed onto Draxus's back, gripping the ridges between his scales as the great dragon crouched low. Rin mounted behind him, securing his harness. Try not to fall off this time. Kale laughed. No promises. Arion and Vorthar took to the air, joined by dozens of dragons that rose like a living storm. Draxus roared, the sound rolling across the plains like thunder. The army moved. They swept south in a massive wave of wings and marching steel, a sight that would have been called impossible only days before. As they flew, Kale felt it again. A pull. Not from the stars. From the earth. Far ahead, beyond the Black March, something burned with a dark, hungry energy that made the heart inside him throb in warning. Rin felt it too. You sense it, don't you? Kale nodded. The weapon. Whatever they're building, it's calling to the heart. Draxus growled. Then we answer with fire. The Black March came into view, an endless stretch of cracked, blackened land where nothing grew and the air shimmered with heat. At its center rose the Citadel of Ash. A towering fortress of obsidian and molten stone, built into the side of a living volcano. Rivers of lava ran down its walls like veins of fire. And above it, the sky was wrong. Dark clouds churned in a perfect circle, as if something beneath them was stirring the heavens themselves. Kale tightened his grip. Looks like they're ready for us. From the Citadel walls, horns began to sound. The Iron Dominion's army poured out onto the Black March, ranks of soldiers in black armor, massive siege engines rolling into place. Above them, chained war dragons were being forced into the sky once more. Draxus roared, lightning exploding across his wings. Then let the world remember this day. Kale raised his blade, the light flaring bright enough to be seen across the battlefield. Dragons and humans, he shouted, his voice carrying through the bond, echoing in minds and hearts alike. Today we don't fight for crowns or walls. He pointed the blade toward the Citadel of Ash. We fight for the sky itself. The army roared back. And the first wave of Dragonfire streaked toward the fortress as steel and wings crashed together in the opening moments of a battle that would become legend. The first impact shook the world. Dragonfire slammed into the outer walls of the Citadel of Ash, turning obsidian stone into rivers of glowing magma that poured down the fortress like molten blood. The air filled with the sound of cracking rock, screaming metal, and the thunder of wings beating in unison. Kale felt the heart of Dracoria surge inside him as Draxus dove, lightning exploding from the dragon's wings and striking the battlements in blinding arcs of blue-white light. Towers shattered, and lines of Iron Dominion soldiers were thrown from the walls, their black armor flashing briefly before vanishing into the lava flows below. Rin loosed a volley of explosive bolts from his mounted launcher, each one bursting into a sphere of flame as it struck siege engines lining the Black March. Direct hit, he shouted. They're scrambling. Below them the allied armies clashed. Steel met steel in a roar of sound as human soldiers surged forward under the cover of Dragonfire. Shields locked, spears thrust, and the ground became a storm of dust, ash and blood. Above, dragons tangled in violent spirals, claws raking scales as fire and lightning tore through the sky. Arion swooped past Kale, his silver wings catching the light of the burning citadel. The outer gate is weakening. We need to punch through before they bring up their reserves. Kale nodded, raising his blade. The light flared, brighter than before, and he felt the bond stretch outward, through Draxus, through the other dragons, through the soldiers on the ground. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. The army felt him. With a unified roar, dragons and humans surged toward the gate. The Iron Dominion answered. From the heart of the citadel, a deep, grinding sound rolled across the battlefield. The ground trembled and a section of the fortress wall split open like a wound. Something massive stepped out. It was a war dragon, but unlike any Kale had seen. Its scales were fused with black iron plates, glowing red from the heat beneath. Chains were wrapped around its body, embedded into its flesh, and along its spine rose jagged metal spines that pulsed with dark energy. The beast roared, and the sound alone knocked soldiers off their feet. Draxus snarled. They've turned a dragon into a weapon. The monstrous dragon spread its wings and unleashed a blast of fire so intense it turned the air itself into a wall of flame. A line of allied soldiers vanished in a flash of white light, the ground beneath them fused into glass. Rin's voice shook. That thing will tear through the army. Kale felt the heart surge again, hot and urgent. Then we don't let it. Draxus banked hard, climbing rapidly. Hold on. They shot upward, the sky opening around them as they gained height above the battlefield. From this angle, Kale could see the full scope of the war, the Black March lit by fire and lightning, the citadel bleeding lava and smoke, the skies filled with dragons locked in deadly dance. And at the center of it all, the chained war dragon, roaring defiance at the heavens. Draxus dove. They hit the beast like a thunderbolt. Lightning and fire collided in an explosion of light that rippled across the clouds. The war dragon screamed, twisting in the air as Draxus tore into its armored neck, fangs scraping against metal and scale. Kale leapt from Draxus's back, landing on the monster's spine. The heat was unbearable, his boots smoking against the glowing plates as he drove his blade into one of the chains. The light flared. The chain shattered. The war dragon roared again, this time in pain, and something else. Confusion. Its eyes flickered, the red glow dimming for a moment. Almost there. Rin shouted from above, firing bolts into the creature's wing joints. The beast bucked violently, throwing Kale into the air. He barely caught a ridge of metal hanging over a sea of fire and smoke below. The war dragon twisted its head, jaws opening wide. Draxus slammed into it again, locking jaws with the monster in a brutal clash of teeth and flame. The two dragons spiraled downward, crashing into the outer wall of the citadel in a cascade of falling stone and sparks. Kale rolled to his feet, coughing, and ran along the beast's back toward its head. Below them, the Iron Dominion's inner gates began to open. From within the citadel, lines of elite soldiers poured out, their armor glowing with the same dark energy that powered the chained dragon. They moved with unnatural precision, cutting into the allied ranks like a blade through cloth. Arion swooped low, scattering them with a blast of silver flame, but more kept coming. Kale? Rin shouted. They're deploying something else, look. At the heart of the citadel's courtyard, a massive structure rose from the ground, a towering spire of black stone and glowing red crystal, crackling with unstable energy. Kale felt the heart inside him throb violently. That's the weapon, he said. That's what's calling to me. The war dragon beneath him thrashed, nearly throwing him off again. Kale plunged his blade into the final chain, pouring everything he had into the strike. The light exploded outward. The chain shattered. The red glow vanished from the war dragon's eyes. For a moment, it hovered, wings beating uncertainly. Then it looked at Draxus, and bowed its head. Draxus froze, stunned. Kale stared in disbelief. It's free. The freed dragon roared, not in rage but in defiance. It turned and unleashed its fire on the Iron Dominion's ranks, scattering their soldiers and tearing into their siege lines. A cheer rose from the allied army. But the victory was short-lived. The spire in the courtyard flared, sending a wave of dark energy across the battlefield. Dragons cried out, their flight faltering. Soldiers dropped to their knees, clutching their heads as the air itself seemed to scream. Kale fell to one knee, the heart burning like a brand in his chest. Arion landed beside him. That weapon is tuned to you. Is trying to tear the bond out of your body. Kale gritted his teeth. Then I guess I have to tear it down first. He looked toward the spire, standing tall amid the chaos, a wound in the world itself. Draxus, he said, forcing himself to stand. Get me inside that citadel. The great dragon growled, wings spreading wide. With pleasure. High above, the storm clouds began to churn again. Something beyond the sky was watching. Kale gripped Draxus's scales tightly as the great dragon swooped low over the black march. Smoke, ash, and fire rose from the battlefield, and the cries of dragons and soldiers alike formed a chaotic symphony that rattled the bones. The inner gates won't hold, Kale said through the bond. We go over. Draxus's massive wings beat against the turbulent air, lifting them above the outer walls. Below, the allied army surged forward, pushing back the Iron Dominion soldiers who still clung to their positions. Dragons, freed from chains, circled the enemy lines, tearing through formations and scattering siege engines. Rin clutched his bow, eyes narrowed as he aimed at the black spire in the citadel courtyard. The spire is the key. Whatever's powering it, if we destroy it, the Iron Dominion loses their advantage. Kale nodded, focusing on the heart pulsing inside him. The bond between himself and the heart thrummed like a living heartbeat, warning him of danger and guiding his path. Every pulse carried the weight of the dragons, the soldiers, and the fate of the world. Draxus, dive now. Kale commanded. The dragon plunged toward the inner gates, fire streaking from his wings, lightning crackling along his scales. Kale launched himself from Draxus's back, landing on the molten stone roof of the gatehouse. The heat seared his boots, but he barely noticed. His eyes were locked on the spire in the courtyard, glowing with dark energy, pulsing in sync with the heart inside him. Rin followed, landing beside him with a graceful roll. You ready for this? Kale clenched his jaw. As ready as I'll ever be. Together, they sprinted across the roof, leaping over broken stone and molten rivers that hissed beneath them. The gates shook violently as Draxus collided with the Iron Dominion's defenders below, sending shockwaves through the courtyard. Inside the citadel, the air was thick with the smell of sulfur and burning stone. Red energy licked the walls, forming veins of power that stretched up into the spire. Kale could feel it tugging at the heart, trying to overwhelm the bond. Rin glanced at him. It's feeding off the heart. You need to stabilize it or we won't get far. Kale nodded, focusing inward. He drew the light of the heart, spreading it through his arms, legs and senses. The pull of the spire lessened, though only slightly. Suddenly, from the shadows, a figure emerged. Tall, armored and unmistakably human, but something was wrong. The eyes glowed faintly red, echoing the spire's dark energy. It was Commander Vare's lieutenant, Sir Malric, a veteran of the Skybound Alliance. Kale's eyes widened. Malric? The figure bowed mockingly. Not anymore. Today I serve the Iron Dominion. Before Kale could react, Malric lunged, twin blades glowing with the same dark energy as the spire. Rin fired an explosive bolt, but Malric deflected it with a wave of his hand, hurling it aside as if it weighed nothing. Kale dodged a strike, rolling to the side. He's been corrupted. Rin's arrow flew, striking Malric in the shoulder. He growled, staggering back for only a moment before pressing forward. You don't understand power, he hissed. I've embraced it. Kale met his charge, sword clashing against dark steel. Sparks exploded with each impact, the echo filling the chamber. The heart throbbed, warning him that the longer the fight continued, the more the spire's energy would corrupt even him. Draxus landed behind Kale with a thunderous roar, shaking the citadel's walls. Kale? I've cleared a path to the spire. Go now. Kale nodded, driving Malric backward with a series of strikes, pushing him toward the edge of the roof. With a final swing, he sent the corrupted warrior tumbling into a pit of molten stone below. The red energy around Malric dissipated in a burst of light, leaving nothing but smoke and ash. Rin exhaled sharply. That was too close. Kale's attention returned to the spire. It loomed above, a monolithic tower of blackened stone and pulsing red crystal. The energy emanating from it resonated with the heart inside him, and he could feel its power trying to overwhelm his mind. He took a deep breath. Rin, cover me. I have to bind it even for a moment. Rin nodded, raising his bow. You got it. Just don't die. Kale stepped forward, climbing the spire's side, the surface hot to the touch. Each handhold burned, but he pressed on, guided by the heart. The pulsing energy grew stronger with every step, and he could feel the spire responding to his presence. At the top, Kale reached out and touched the crystal. The world exploded in light. The red energy surged into him, and for a moment, it felt as if the spire itself were alive, trying to rip his soul apart. The heart pulsed in response, pushing back, anchoring him. He gritted his teeth, focusing all of himself into the bond. Draxus roared below, unleashing a wave of lightning that shattered the spire's outer defenses, sending shards of black stone and crystal raining down into the courtyard. Kale's body trembled as he drew the heart's power into himself, channeling it into the spire. A brilliant wave of golden light shot outward, burning away the dark energy and sending the spire cracking and crumbling. The courtyard shook violently as the citadel of ash began to collapse, lava spilling from fissures in the ground. Rin shouted, Kale? Get down from there. Kale jumped from the top of the spire, landing on Draxus's back with a thud that rattled his bones. The dragon flapped his wings, lifting them into the air just as the spire imploded in a burst of golden light, sending dark energy scattering across the battlefield. The Black March shook violently as soldiers and dragons scrambled for balance. Kale's body pulsed with the heart's energy, glowing faintly in rhythm with Draxus's heartbeat. Is it over? Rin asked, leaning against Kale for support. Kale shook his head slowly. Not yet. That was only the beginning. The citadel is destroyed, but the weapon inside, it called to the heart. Something bigger is coming. Draxus roared, circling high above. Then we prepare. Whatever waits beyond the mountains, we will meet it together. Kale looked down at the battlefield. The allied armies were cheering, dragons free, soldiers alive, but his eyes remained on the distant horizon, where the first hints of a new storm stirred beyond the Black March. And he knew, deep in his chest, that the real war was only beginning. The citadel of ash lay in ruins. Blackened stone and molten rivers crisscrossed the battlefield, the echoes of collapsing walls reverberating across the plains. The air was thick with smoke, ash, and the acrid scent of scorched metal. Dragons circled overhead, their cries a mixture of triumph and exhaustion, while the surviving Iron Dominion soldiers scattered in panic, trying to escape the chaos. Kale stood atop Draxus, surveying the battlefield. His body still pulsed with the heart's golden energy, but fatigue tugged at him. He had never felt such a strain, nor had he ever faced such concentrated evil in one place. Yet the heart anchored him, steadying the storm within. Kale, Rin called from Draxus's back. The leaders, they've taken refuge in the volcano's inner chamber. They're trying to escape with what's left of the weapon. Kale's eyes narrowed. Then we end this. They dove toward the molten fissure that led to the volcano's inner chamber, fire and ash whirling around them. The ground trembled violently with every beat of Draxus's wings and the rumble of the volcano beneath. Lava bubbled and hissed as it erupted through cracks, sending waves of heat that threatened to knock them off balance. Inside the chamber, the remaining Iron Dominion generals were frantically trying to stabilize a smaller version of the sky-wounding weapon. The energy pulsed like a living thing, red veins snaking across the walls, glowing and thrumming with power that felt alive. One of them, a woman clad in black armor with a crown of molten gold, turned at their arrival. "So, the Sky Herald comes to finish what he cannot understand," she hissed. "You cannot stop the heart from answering." Kale leapt from Draxus's back, landing on the edge of the inner chamber. The heart's energy flared violently in response, warning him of the weapon's pull. "It's over," he said calmly. "No more death. No more chains." The generals laughed, their voices distorted by the humming energy. Then, in a blur, they activated a secondary device, a crystal amplifier that fed off the heart itself, sending a wave of energy that threatened to tear Kale from Draxus's back. Kale braced himself. The heart flared, golden and fierce, pushing back against the surge. The chamber shook violently. Lava splashed from the fissures and a storm of molten shards rained down around them. Draxus roared, diving at the nearest general, wings slicing the air like blades of lightning. The black-armored leader swung a weapon of energy, striking the dragon's wing, sparks flying. Draxus growled, spinning to avoid another strike, and unleashed a blast of lightning that sent the general flying against the chamber wall. Rin leapt, firing explosive bolts that shattered crystal conduits. Sparks and fire erupted everywhere. "Kale? The amplifier, it's feeding faster than we can destroy it." Kale clenched his fists, drawing the heart into himself. The golden energy surged, streaming through his veins, twisting and reshaping his power. He could feel the spire's dark energy fighting him, but this time he controlled it. He reached for the amplifier with his mind, linking the heart's pulse to the device. The room trembled violently, stones cracking under the strain. Kale's eyes glowed brighter. "Now, Draxus, strike the amplifier." The dragon slammed his claw into the device, shattering it into fragments that exploded into molten shards. A shockwave of golden energy surged outward, knocking everyone to the ground. The dark energy dissipated in an instant, leaving the chamber silent except for the hiss of cooling lava. Kale dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Rin helped him to stand. "Is it done?" he asked, voice shaky. Kale looked around. The generals were gone, scattered and defeated. The remaining Iron Dominion soldiers surrendered, dropping their weapons as they stared at the heart glowing in Kale's chest. "For now," Kale said. "But there's more coming. The storm beyond the stars, it knows we're here." Draxus lowered his head to Kale. "You've done it, little brother. You've saved the allied armies. But the world, the sky itself, has felt your power. And it will remember." Kale nodded slowly, the golden light dimming to a steady pulse. He felt the weight of responsibility heavier than ever before. This battle was won, but the war, the true war, was only beginning. Rin looked out at the battlefield. "The army's in one piece. Dragons are free. We can finally regroup." Kale's gaze shifted to the horizon, where the first hints of a dark storm swirled beyond the mountains. "We can regroup," he said quietly, "but we have to prepare. Whatever is coming, it won't be just the Iron Dominion." Draxus growled, wings stretching wide. "Then we train. We fight. And we make sure that when the storm arrives, it finds us ready." Kale placed a hand over the heart, feeling its warmth and life within him. "The heart chose me. It chose us. And as long as it beats, we will fight." Above the citadel of ash, the sky began to clear, but a faint shimmer lingered at the horizon, a warning of the challenges yet to come. The sun rose, casting golden light over a battlefield that had witnessed fire, steel and courage beyond measure. Kale turned to Rin, Arion and the allied leaders. "We've won this battle," he said. "But the war will test everything we believe. And when the time comes, we'll face it together." The dragons roared, the soldiers cheered, and the heart pulsed once more, steady and unwavering. The citadel of ash lay in ruins, but the legend of the Sky Herald had only just begun.